The clarity, depth, and character of this preamp for voiceover is amazing. Check this out.
From the mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov.
This is the Elysia Skulpter 500, and it is chock full of amazing features that make it perfect for voiceover, including a really super clean preamp front end that has a ton of depth, but it also has the ability for you to dial in the amount of character you want with this really beautiful saturation circuit. And it also has a very transparent low-cut filter and an extremely transparent one-knob compressor. There's so much to love about this, especially for VO, and I want to get into all of it. So let's check this thing out. So this gain control is really pretty cool. It's not your grandfather's old-fashioned potentiometer, but it enables a really complex circuit of relays and resistors that allow you to have very precise 1.5 dB steps between each click on this detented dial. And it's so precise, as a matter of fact, that you can pull any two Elysia Skulpters off the line, and they'll be a matched pair. So that's German engineering for you. And I love this thing because not only does it give you a really wide range of about 65 dB of gain, but there's also something really cool that it does too. So if I click on this button, right? If I click on this, then it shows you the amount of gain you have dialed in. So, you can increase and decrease and you see it, but that's the one thing. It's like if you want to get an idea of how much gain you have, right? Boom, you press that. And then press it again, and then you return to the regular ballistics of this really sexy meter here. So I love that. So up next, though, is this is, I think, my favorite feature on the Skulpter. So not only is this beautiful, clean preamp, just sounds so nice on the voice, but you have this saturation circuit called Shape. Now there's actually two different saturation circuits built into the Skulpter. So there's Shape 1 and Shape 2. You're listening to Shape 2. Now Shape 2 is dialed up all the way, not all the way, this is dialed up to about 12 o'clock, as you can see. And it adds just a nice saturation here. Let me take that out. So without it, right, you get a lot cleaner. But you're also, when you add this, you're getting a really nice tube-like saturation. It's actually it's more tube-like than any other solid-state saturation circuit I've heard on like any other hardware. It's really nice because it's got some really beautiful soft clipping. If you go all the way, it gets a little crispy there. But dial it back. I like it right about here. I like about between like 10 and 12 o'clock. I think it's really nice on the voice there. So I love this. So this is Shape 2. And if I press this button down here, right, this enables the other circuit, Shape 1. Shape 1 is really for instruments, right? Shape 1 is kind of more of a low end kind of thing going on. And I can dial this up all the way and make my condenser sound more like a dynamic. So, I mean, that's great for music, for instruments, but Shape 2 is really here my swerve, right? And the other thing it does, now listen to this. It also adds like a 4.5 K boost, 4.5 dB. It also adds a 4.5 K boost, right? Which really helps you pop that sound. So I love that. I mean, I think this is really great because this takes the place of like 3 or 4 different preamps because you can really get it. You can really get it very saturated if you want that really edgy sound, like for promo. You can dial it back a little bit and still get that really nice cutting edge on it, or you take it off completely. It's really nice and rich and warm. Again, I like it right there. So this is your low cut. And, the low cut is very effective, and it doesn't induce that weird honk that sometimes you get with a low cut filter, which drives me nuts, right? But you can take it all the way up here, and it still sounds really nice and clean. I have it down here to really fill out the bottom end because, I know you like that on YouTube. You like that full bottom end sound. But here, this is where I would really have it for work. It's probably about right here. So pretty much I could just put these both at 12 o'clock and I'd be happy with that. Just dial them back a little bit. And there you go, right? That's pretty nice. So, but let's get to the compressor because this is really impressive. So the compressor that's built in here has a 3.1, 3-to-1 ratio. And it's a little bit, for voiceover for me, I usually like a 1.7 or 1.5. But what's nice about this is, see, this little light here tells you it's working. So that's your indicator that you've crossed the threshold. and it's compressing. So I can add even a little bit more in there. And that's the thing about it. Even if I'm compressing like heavily for voiceover, this would be maybe too much for VO, right? Even if I dial it up a little bit like that, it does not affect the sound. It's not adding weight. It's not adding character. It's just taming the dynamics. So it's really super transparent, which is awesome. So the way I would really use this a lot, the way I have been using it, is like finding what happens in VO is a lot of times the very first syllable that you utter, that very first onset, that very first transient is usually, when you look on the waveform, it's like kind of like a big spike, right? So trying to get it so that you really just hit the peaks right there. And you're really just kind of taming maybe that first peak or some of that really, some of the egregious ones, so you can really keep a nice dynamic flow here. That's really helpful. So right there, that's pretty good. I like that. And again, it's super transparent. I mean, what's not to love about that? That is perfect for VO. A nice transparent compressor, and it's one knob. And the other thing that's neat about it is when you don't exceed the threshold. When the threshold is not met, the compressor circuit is taken completely out of the audio path. So it does not induce any extra anything that you don't want in there when the compressor is not working. It's beautiful. I love this. So I mean, that really right there, that makes it a perfect channel strip. But there's more. And also I dig this really nice lit badge here, the Elysia name badge that lights up here. I think that's classy. I like that a lot. All right, let's look at the buttons next. So because of the camera angle, I can only show you half of the unit at a time. So this is the bottom half. So let's start with this DI. This DI is pretty cool, but you know what? I don't need it. But if you need it, it's there. And I'm sure it's great. But let's talk about the other features. These 4 buttons here. So this is the shape. This switches between the 2 shape circuits. So shape 2 is on, and now it's shape 1. So that's pretty cool. And the buttons feel really nice too. They have a nice push on it, nice travel, nice click. They feel really solid. So right here, you've got your phantom power. And what I really like about this, the design concept behind this is brilliant. So what you do here with the phantom power, right, is you have to hold it down for 2 seconds, and then it enables a mute on the output of the preamp. So you don't get any sort of like click or pop. That may, and I hate that sound, especially in my headphones. Like if I had big speakers, that would really suck, but especially in your headphones, because it's always like that sound that you hear before things go wrong. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold it down. You have to hold it down for 2 seconds, which means that you can't switch that off accidentally. It has to be intentional. So when you hold it down for 2 seconds, then it goes into mute, and then I will turn it back on. But here, let me show you the whole process. And then when the light stops blinking, the mute is lifted. The the curfew in your voice is lifted, and you can hear your sounds again. Beautiful. So phase switch right here, right? We'll enable that so you can hear it out of phase, right? And then right here, this is a mute button, which is really helpful, I think, too, because much like getting that mute when you press your phantom power off and on, sometimes it's nice just having a mute. So, that's really nice. I like that. Very well thought out. So overall, what do I think of this? I am just blown away by this. I think this is the best sounding preamp I've ever heard on my voice for voiceover. Just the depth, the clarity, and the character, which are the 3 main variables I'm looking for, right? I mean, overall, it just sounds incredible. And you know what I really love about it? It sounds very engaging. And that to me is really the most important consideration for commercial voiceover. For most voiceover, you really want to sound engaging. Especially if you're doing a lot of conversational stuff, if you're doing audiobook stuff, if you're doing anything. That's really, it's really a silly thing to say, because if you're doing music, if you're doing anything, you want to sound engaging. You want to sound like something that your audience listens to and goes like, oh, they want to lean in and find out more, right? So that's what I love about it. It sounds engaging. It has a lot of depth. You have this beautiful character that you can add or take away or just really contour to what you want. You've got this great low-cut filter. So overall, I am very geeked out about this. I think that this premium sound for voiceover is perfect for what I do. I could not be happier. But what do you think? What do you think of the Elysia Skulpter 500? I mean, this thing is so cool. I just really dig it so much. So the Elysia Skulpter 500, I'm in love. I'm in love with it. But I want to know what you're thinking. All right? So leave a comment. Until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.